Greetings gentlemen, Shae Matthews here from the Natural Lifestyles Inner Game Coach Extraordinaire. And today I want to talk to you about a very important topic, which is how to deal with the injected values of other people and how to stop living by them. So a really common thing that I see from time to time with clients is that they come in with this sense of lack of direction. And there's often a lot of conflict about who they are in the world and how they are making choices. Now, this can most often be because they have a sense of confusion about their sense of self that arises from having influences like their family, their culture, the media around them, the many different voices, the many different images that are coming from the different sorts of directions around them that are telling them to be a certain kind of person, to achieve a certain set of expectations. And often because it's really easy for guys, it's really easy for people to lose ourselves in the idea of who we should be and to try and seek approval from others along the way. Now, it's pretty dangerous when you think about it, because that can really set you on a path of not fulfilling yourself, not being able to really enjoy your life. And over time, 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years later, that can be a huge sacrifice. That can be a huge loss of the kinds of time and opportunities that you did have in your life. So it's very important to get a handle on this and to get some perspective on it as soon as possible so that you don't get lost in the meantime. Okay, so let me talk about an example. So for example, a guy comes in and he wants to change his life. But at the same time, he feels this war inside of himself to change because he's trying to satisfy his parents, he's trying to satisfy his career obligations, he's trying to satisfy ideas of what he thinks he should be in society so that he can get the kinds of women that he wants. And as a result of that, he's living his life in constant reaction and constant sacrifice and denial of himself. So of course, that's a huge price to pay, this poor guy. And I know it's not easy to often break free from these cycles, because these kinds of things have quite a big influence on us, especially if we come from a background where we've been brought up in a very traditionalist kind of society. So if you're the kind of guy that's having conflict in your life because you can't get clarity on who you are, where you want to go and what you want to do, then I dare say it's probably got to do with the fact that you've been injected with somebody else's values along the way, and you haven't spent the time to critically analyze and define what your own values are. Now, in personal development, there is a very common thing that shows up a lot, which is defining and living by your values. And in some ways, it's very easy to misunderstand, and it's also very easy to become excessively complicated, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. Now, defining your values and finding your values definitely takes a bit of a process. And it's usually not the kind of thing that comes in like a one hit. It's not the kind of thing you just sit down, do it for 10 minutes, then you know what's important to you forevermore, and then you live a life that happily ever after. What typically happens is we find ourselves in the context of our life, and we're trying to find our way through the world, and we get given a whole bunch of rules and values and beliefs and stuff along the way. We form them ourselves through our own direct experience, and we also get suggested these things from the world around us. Now, when we can develop the mature faculty of critical thinking, critical analysis, critical questioning, then we can start to pull these things apart. And if you want to change beliefs, if you want to work on your inadequacies, if you want to work on things inside yourself that are blind spots, then it's really important to develop that critical analysis, that faculty of being able to identify where the challenges are and to be able to redefine them. Because one of the simplest ways to change a belief is to confront it with analysis, to confront it with awareness, and to start to add more information and question it. And you'll quickly see that what you thought was real, or what you thought was the case, can often fall apart and become something completely different very quickly. And this is very much the case with values. So for example, if you're living under the influence of somebody else's value structures that don't serve you, and you feel like something's wrong, but you don't really know exactly why or what's going on, take some time to question, whose authority are you reacting to? Whose authority are you responding to? And say, for example, you want to be sexually liberated. Okay, cool. What a great objective. You want to be free, you want to express yourself. You want to know yourself, you want to do what you really love with your time and energy. Awesome. But question, do you really own those parts of your life? Or are you reacting to some old Christian morals of sexuality? Are you reacting to how your mother told you to grow up and be a good boy, for example? Or are you reacting to maybe some baggage that's still left from a wound with an ex-girlfriend that had some traumas and projected stuff onto you, or who knows? So these are the kinds of things that can come up quite commonly in a guy's life and really mess him up. So critical analysis at that point is really important. How did you get to that stage? What authority did you give away to other people and other things? And how can you take that authority back for yourself? So the idea with taking your authority back is to critically question, how true is this? How do I know that it's true? And start to pull things apart. Start to look into the depths of things, and you'll start to see pretty quickly that stuff like, giving your power away to your parents, for example, or a traditional structure of satisfying your parents is a limited end. It's going to get you so far. And in many ways, those kinds of structures of traditional support, traditional values to support the family, for example, or to be an upstanding man and take your place in society, etc., were very useful in times gone past. But they're not so useful in modern times because the context of our modern life is changing so fast. And we need to be more dynamic. It's much more healthy to be flexible. It's much more healthy to be adaptable. It's much more healthy to be capable of moving forward in your life, as opposed to just sticking into a typical kind of, a rut or a level of your life where you're just trying to maintain some kind of status quo. So that's the first thing, is start to get critically aware of where you're holding yourself back and start to pull it apart. Start to add more information. Start to question. That in itself will start to lead you in a very different direction, because things really, let me say it this way, deception, especially self-deception, can't stand the analysis of truth. It can't stand correct questioning. And that's one of the beautiful things about something called honesty, or something called truth, is that it tends to prove itself through its own self-evident feedback once you test it against reality. So a really big thing that happens to a lot of people is they get into a loop of self-deception, of trying to fulfill other people's opinions, other people's needs, other people's expectations, and that comes at quite a sacrifice. So I've seen over and over again, guys giving years of their life away to their parents, or away to organizations and careers that they don't really want, because they're trying to satisfy something. They're trying to chase the validation of success. They don't want to disappoint others, and they want to make sure they get their survival needs fulfilled in some kind of way. But think of the price of that, really. Is that really going to satisfy you if you've made a few $100,000 or maybe even $1 million, but you wake up in your 40s and realize that that's actually not what you want to be? It's not what you want to be living. It's not what you want to be doing. And then most of the golden years of your life are going to be over. Sure, you can still change to a degree, but it's not like you can do the same sort of thing in your 40s as you could when you're in your 20s and your 30s. So it really pays to spend some time critically analyzing whose values are you living and why, and start to pull that apart, start to question that authority and start to do something different about it. So one of the key things as well that comes after you've gone through that is to simultaneously start to engage with what I call your creative spirit, the part of yourself that talks to you and tells you what you really want, what's going to make you happy, what's going to make you fulfilled, what's going to lead you to something exciting. And sometimes we get that through just paying attention to the things that make us happy. Sometimes we don't know what those things are because we haven't had enough life experience yet. And if that's the case, then make some time to go out and explore the world. And that doesn't have to be overnight, but give yourself 6 months or a year, or create an escape plan, an exit strategy, so that you can go and have some experiences that teach you about yourself and what you really want. Because how are you ever going to learn what you want and what's true for you if you don't have any life experiences to really build from? So the important thing also here is to recognize as you're learning about your creative spirit and getting engaged with your creative spirit, that it will teach you through feedback. You'll know that things like spending time with people is a good thing for you when it gives you lots of energy. Or you'll know that you should be following a path that leads you towards more choice about how you use your time and what you do, because that's the thing that gives you most power. That's the thing that makes you feel most alive. That's the thing that gives you the thing that is really exciting in life. Now, the principles of learning to become a creative person is almost like learning to come out of a sleep as well, because living in accordance with your creative spirit, which is a completely different way of living in your values, is based on the fact that you're no longer living in reaction to the world. Instead, you're going to start living from creation. You're going to start living from the power of what it really means to create something of value inside your life that's defined from the moment now into the future. It's not defined by the past. It's not dependent on other people's opinions. It's not dependent on what you should do so that you can be okay in the world. Now, it's very normal to face challenges as you step into your creative spirit and as you go through this process. It's very normal that people are going to try and cut you down, they're going to make you small, they're going to make life challenging for you in some way. You've got to learn how to love that as part of the process, welcome that, and expect that as part of the process. So there's many different layers to it, but at the same time, it's pretty simple. Just define what it is that you really want and start to work towards it. And if you don't know what that is, then start to define some time and space for you to create that in your life so that you can work towards it over time, so you can get closer to it over 6 months or 12 months. So I hope that makes things a little bit clearer. You've got some pretty important things to pay attention to there. So number one, recognize and understand what it is to have your values injected from other people. Pay attention to the fact and where and how that happens to you. Secondly, recognize the kinds of things that you're paying the price for when you do that. You know, the sacrifice of your time and energy, the loss of your individuality, the loss of your freedom to do the things that you really want. And then, of course, all the negative feelings and all kinds of side effects like depression and self-destruction, addiction, all kinds of things can come out of not fulfilling your values over time. So pay attention to those kinds of things that you're doing and start to critically analyze and pull things apart. Start to question authority. Start to make things more on your own terms by understanding what you're actually dealing with. And then finally, get in contact with your creative spirit. Choose to do something different. Choose to invest in it and recognize that it's not going to be easy always, but the rewards are going to far outweigh living somebody else's life over time. So I hope that's been helpful for you, gentlemen. I appreciate you watching the video. Make sure you click subscribe, stay tuned, hit us up with any of your questions, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you with some quality stuff. Peace out, gents. This is Shae here, Budapest 2016, Christmas time. Woo! It's damn cold. Love you guys.